People want to know what they can do as individuals, sort of practical kinds of things they can do to be a part of the solution and rather than the problem. Congresswoman Bass, you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. I think that people can become active. And I so appreciate what you said, Steve. You know, we go through this ritual every time we have one of these situations where people want to talk about race, and then they call all the Black people in. And it's like, you know, it gets tiring. It's a burden. And I think, and here's the sad thing is that I think that there's more credibility when white people talk about racism than Black people. When we talk about racism, number one, it's expected. And number two, you're calling the race card. And so I think that there's outstanding white anti-racist activists that can come in and talk to folks. In terms of what people can do, and I've been, needless to say, talking about policing a lot. I don't know how wide the audience is for this show, but wherever you are, check out your own police departments, because trust me, if there's some Black people that live in your area, you have a disproportionate arrest and incarceration rate. And why don't you find out about your own police department? Find out what their arrest rate is. If you have schools that are integrated, find out what the suspension and expulsion rate is, because that's how it all starts. So everyone can take responsibility. Don't view race as an issue that Black people deal with or that other people of color deals with. It impacts all of us, and it lowers the quality of life for all of us.
Thank you. Soledad?
You know, I'll answer that. Obviously, I think what Congresswoman Bass says is exactly right. And I think white people have a tremendous amount of power that sometimes they don't either know or fail to recognize that they can leverage. And I'll give you an analogy using my poor husband who hates these analogies. But white guy who was often put on manels, men-only panels. He didn't create the panel. He'd be asked to go. He'd go to the panel. And when he'd get there, he'd look around and be like, oh, everybody looks like me on this panel. And he'd say, I didn't really want to do it, but it's not my panel. I didn't set it up. I just went. And I said to him, literally, Mariah Carey and Patti LaBelle do not go do divas until they know who else is on. And this is how you need to think about these things. Like, use your power. When someone asks you to do a panel, you say, well, I will hold the date. And when you confirm for me who else is on this panel, then I'll confirm my availability, right? So and here's what I care about. I need to see at least 2 women of color. I need to see a young man who's, new in the, who's entering the business. I would like to see an older woman who, right? Now you have the power. If they want you, here's your demand list of what you want. And instead of sort of showing up and saying, I got there, wasn't my panel, I had no control, you instead say, I have lots of control. And if you want me, this is my list of demands. And often I have found that people don't even think about it. Like they don't, it's not necessarily malicious. It's that they just never, ever even considered the makeup of the panel. They check the boxes. And the minute white people start saying, it's not just important to Black people, it's important to me, middle-aged white dude, that there are diverse people on this panel, given a high profile slot, everybody starts thinking about it more. And those little things I actually think can be fairly useful in moving the needle. I mean, I think individuals have to stick up and use and leverage their power to make that change, as opposed to saying, wow, it's really disappointing there are no people of color on this panel. That's just not good enough.
There are so many things that white people need to learn about the history of racism. And Ibram Kendi, his history stamped from the beginning, I think is one of the greatest sources. It's a bit of a doorstop, but it's worth every word. And for those who want something shorter, just read Nicole Hannah-Jones' Sunday piece in the New York Times Magazine. And we need to look at everything about systemic racism, and we need to open our minds not only to reform efforts, but it may be an unfortunate word that will change, defunding, like getting police out of schools and rethinking why, if schools are so dangerous that we need police in them all the time, would we ever put our children in them? And to think through what Nicole Hannah-Jones articulates beautifully is a really meaningful discussion of reparations leading into truth and reconciliation. Because without ending wealth disparity or making a serious inroad into it, I don't think we'll have successful truth and reconciliation.